Let the record reflect that all commissioners are here. And if you'll now do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. So our first item is to approve the agenda. I haven't received anything that says anybody's interested in changing it. Is there any changes to the agenda? And if we take a motion to accept it?
Madam Chair, no changes suggested from administration.
Okay. Members?
I'll move to accept it.
Thank you, Commissioner Mergen. Is there a second?
Second.
Everybody else is up. Okay, good. Thank you, Commissioner Notch. And then we had a third even. All right. Let's take the roll.
District 1.
Aye.
District 2.
Aye.
District 3.
Aye.
District 4.
Aye.
District 5.
Aye.
It passes unanimously.
Thank you. Public Access Forum. Dr. Williams, do we have anybody who is wanting to speak this morning?
Madam Chair, we do not.
Okay, just to remind the public, we still have, even though we're meeting remotely, we have a variety of ways that people can participate and speak up at our Public Access Forum. It is limited to once a month. You can email Dr. Williams or you'll see in our agenda, email info at our address, and we will put you on either by phone or face to face. So thank you. Consent agenda. Doing a little feedback from somebody, some good music in the background. Are there any changes?
Commissioner Clark, I would like to pull number 5 for the purpose of needing to abstain on that one.
Okay. Members, that seems like a good thing. Is there a motion then to approve the agenda with the exception of number 5? Without number 5, 1 through 4.
I'll move that.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Mergen.
Persky, second.
Thank you, Commissioner Persky. We have a motion and a second. Not seeing any questions or discussion. Let's take the roll.
District 2.
Aye.
District 3.
Aye.
District 4.
Aye.
District 5.
Aye.
District 1.
Aye.
It passes 5-0.
Okay, members, we'll now take up consent agenda item number 5. And if there isn't any other, let's go ahead and take the roll.
Madam Chair, I'll move that.
Commissioner Persky.
I'll move item number 5.
Great.
I'll second it, Commissioner Notch.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioners Persky and Notch.
Want to take the roll?
Yes, please, let's take the roll.
Okay. District 3.
Abstain.
District 4.
Aye.
District 5.
Aye.
District 1.
Aye.
District 2.
Aye.
So 4 yeses and 1 abstention.
Great. Thank you, members. We'll move on to item D, building facilities. I believe Kevin has a presentation for us on the behavioral health clinic project, the security portions, Dr. Williams and Mr. Kornack. And I see we're joined, we've got a couple others with us.
We do. Joining me, I'm Kevin Cornick, Facilities Manager for Stearns County. Joining me today is Sergeant Tad Hessian with the St. Cloud Police Department. Sheriff Steve Soika here at Stearns County. And Dr. Williams, Dr. Lee, the head of Central Minnesota Mental Health. You'll recall back at your March 2nd meeting, we brought this project to you for the green light to go out for bids. And at that time, there was some questions raised about how the security was reviewed by some of our partner agencies. In response to that, we circled back with the St. Cloud Police Department. Sergeant Hessian heads their community engagement division. And at the same time, we sat down with our own sheriff and reviewed the building and some of the processes and operations that Central Minnesota Mental Health has in place. Bringing that information back to you today. For security reasons, we didn't put together much of a presentation. They didn't want to air out more than necessary, but I'll leave it to Sergeant Hessian to give you his overview, the sheriff to do the same, and then any follow-ups by Dr. Lee.
Great. Sergeant Hessian.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you so much for letting me be here today. It was an honor to be able to get called in to look at this project. I have to say first and foremost that the designers, including Kevin and his entire crew, have done a wonderful job. There was a lot of great things logistically that we saw. Our department has had a long-standing, ongoing relationship with Central Minnesota Mental Health, and obviously with the County of Stearns as well. And we've done a lot of these when it comes to infrastructure, kind of inspections, as well as just looking at threat assessments. And this building and its plans were pretty top-notch. There was a few things that we saw. And like Kevin said, I don't want to get into a lot of things necessarily in a public forum for security purposes, but there was a few things that we saw when it comes to some design things that we can maybe add, and the expenses for those would not be exorbitant at all. There was one additional exit that we looked at adding to kind of help in the event of an active threat. There was also some things when it comes to ballast on the outside of one particular area that will kind of help a little bit, maybe to prevent somebody from taking the car and running at full speed. There was just one kind of area that we felt was maybe a little more vulnerable than others. Additionally, in some entrance areas, to add some film on the windows, very similar to what a lot of the school districts are doing, that helps prevent the shattering of any glass, keeps that window intact. It's not bulletproof, but it does allow for the window integrity, so it just doesn't just crash to the ground with one or multiple shots. And then the only thing that we looked at was specifically the entrance that law enforcement will be using a lot, and that is moving it just a little bit over to make it a little easier for entrance. But logistically speaking, what we were really impressed with, my unit not only does the threat assessments, also works a lot with mental health, and we were impressed with how just the design of the building helps keep the integrity of the human, and it doesn't turn it into where people are being observed unnecessarily. And it really has a lot of components in place, not just safety, but also helping those who are suffering that are there for treatment purposes. So it was well thought out, and we're very impressed.
Thank you. Thank you for being willing to take a look at it. We very much appreciate it.
The sheriff was going to join us. I think they're having some technical issues getting him brought into the meeting here, but if you have any questions for myself or for Sergeant Hessian, like I said, Dr. Lee joined us today, and so did Evan Larson with GLT Architects. So we're happy to field any questions we can, understanding we're in
Dr. Lee, Dr. Lee, do you have anything that you want to add, or you want to make sure the public is aware of?
Well, thank you, Chair Clark, and thank you to the commissioners for not only entertaining our conversation today and a report back to you, but But also, frankly, I want to thank the board for raising the issue of prompting us to do a security review like this. Frankly, it slipped past us, and I'm just very grateful not only for the opportunity for us to have a look at it from a security standpoint, but for the for the longstanding partnership that Sergeant Hessian mentioned with St. Cloud PD and Central Minnesota Mental Health Center. So it was a really great process, and it's really the only thing I want to add for the board and the public's awareness is it's also prompted me to talk to our internal safety committee and pull what we call incident data of the crisis and detox programs. And the data, the reliable data only goes back about 4.5 years. Prior to my arrival here about 5 years ago, the data wasn't being collated in a reliable way. So we just went forward with what we had in the last 4.5 years. And it was illuminating in part for the relative small number of times that the residential crisis program or the detox program has to call law enforcement because of an incident. In detox, for the detox program, for over the last 4.5 years, there was 13 times, so 3 or 4 times a year, where law enforcement were called. About four of those were for a potentially or actually assaultive client, assaultive towards staff or other clients. Some of it was just disorderly agitation, throwing things, and a couple times of indecent exposure. And then in the crisis residential program, in the last 4.5 years, law enforcement was only called upon the scene 5 times over that time period, and none of those incidents involved an assaultive person, but just an agitated person that was a little over our head for calming it down. So it was absolutely useful and illuminating to look back on those data at this time, as well as to for Stearns County Sheriff's Department and St. Cloud B to have a look at the building. So I'm grateful for the prompt to do that.
Well, we appreciate that and certainly want to give credit to Commissioner Lensmeyer for making sure we're having that discussion. It's something we all care about. We want the people who will be utilizing the new center to be obviously treated with dignity and to be as independent as possible, staff to be safe, and the neighborhood as well. So thank you for that, Dr. Lee. And we do have, I believe Sheriff Soika has now joined me in this room, and I think, do you have access now? Do they have you on? Oh, he's still trying. So if there are other questions, or comments while we're just trying to get him on. Otherwise, I'm going to move so he can come up and see all of you. Questions or comments, board members? Nope. I am going to just move briefly so Sheriff Soika can take this place.
Morning. Assuming you can hear me?
Yep.
All right. Well, I guess I don't know if there's, and I apologize for joining late. I was trying in my office, but my technology wasn't letting me join, so I wasn't able to get in there. So I thought I'll do the old-fashioned backup plan and show up physically in the county boardroom. So, yeah, again, joining this little section late, I apologize. I don't know if St. Cloud Officer Sergeant Hessian had mentioned to you guys, he and I, basically from a law enforcement standpoint, looked at the blueprints, sat down with members from the construction company, if you would, the mental health center, We pointed out anything that we saw that might be a deficiency. There really wasn't much of anything, just some suggestions on maybe some camera placement for security reasons, maybe moving a door over just a little bit and an access ramp. Obviously, if we're dealing with the detox area, sometimes people are incapacitated where they can't necessarily walk up a curb. And so just some of those safety things were covered by us. And I just moving forward with Kevin from building facilities and looking at the blueprints, I'm very comfortable with the building meeting security standards as far as law enforcement goes, or for instance, the sheriff's office, if we're bringing somebody to the mental health center or to detox. So I guess I'd be open to any questions. Otherwise, that's kind of my 2 cents worth. Good. All right, I'll turn it back over to Terrell. Sorry about that, everyone.
Sir, on for you. Yes, he was trying on his phone as well. Very much appreciate this again. The work that is being done together will help strengthen this partnership and our community. So thanks for making the time today. Okay.
Yeah, I have no other action for you.
So I was going to
Chair
ask you
Clark,
anything else? Okay. Well, thank you. We'll let you get back onto your day then. Thank you,
Thank
Sheriff.
you.
Thank you, Sergeant Hessian. So our next item, members, is item D, our presentation, our annual presentation from the Stearns County Soil and Water Conservation District.
Hello.
Hello. We can see you all. This is great.
So I am Dennis Books, Administrator of the Stearns County Soil and Water Conservation District. And we have the Chair of the Board, Tom Gregory, here. Also Supervisor Matt Bruette, Supervisor Arlen Lorenz, and Supervisor Chuck Gopoff, if you can see them in the room here. And I'm going to try sharing the PowerPoint presentation now, see if this works.
Great. Go ahead. Yes.
All right, does that look all right to
Looks
viewers?
great. Go ahead and proceed.
All right. So this is our annual report. Last year, we were not able to give this to the county commissioners in person because of the pandemic. And this year, we're not doing it in person, but we're doing it virtually. And we're very glad. And I hope everybody had a chance to look at the PDF annual update that was emailed out to you folks earlier this year. Taking a look at our 2020 operational budget, this is the budget to keep the lights on, staff hired, equipment, computers. We're looking at approximately $2 million per year total budget. And the foundation that is provided by Stearns County is about $1.1 million annually since 2018. And that is the foundation of the strength of our SWCD. And with that, we also leverage state and federal funds and other partner funds to help offset the operational budget. And then that helps us pursue a variety of other grants, including the state legacy funds, the federal CRP, CSP, the Conservation Stewardship Program, and the Environmental Quality Incentive Program. And you look at the total dollars coming in, it's a tremendous value to our landowners in the county. Moving into the actual project payments, actual dollars that went to landowners in Stearns County in 2020, you can see it was just over $6 million, and that's been fluctuating between $5.5 and $7 million for the last couple of years. And if you look at some of the Stearns County specific projects that we worked with the county on, it includes about $250,000 for a variety of projects you see listed there. The Mississippi River Park shoreline, Spring Hill Park well sealing, Teal Creek, culvert inspection camera, aerial imagery, shoreline deed restrictions, our Quarry Park wild parsnip project, and then also the services to the county for the solar sites doing the pollinator inspections that's required as part of these solar site establishments. Also with our assistance on the Board of Adjustment. And then we also have the ongoing statutory requirements associated with the Wetland Conservation Act, the Feedlot Review Committee, and the County Water Plan, One Watershed, One Plan. We would like to thank the county commissioners for their support. That's what makes us rise above a lot of soil and water conservation districts in Minnesota and across the United States, is that foundational support that we receive from the county commissioners. Looking at the soil and water conservation district supervisors and the areas that they represent, you can see that Chuck Uphoff is in Area 1. Area 2 is Arlen Lorenz. Area 3 was Dave Weller. Area 4, Matt Bruette. And Area 5 is Tom Gregory, and they're all pictured there. Dave Weller retired this past year, and his area did lots of great things, lots of projects while he was supervisor for 12 years, and we are certainly going to miss his dedication to the Soil and Water Conservation District for the past 12 years. We were very fortunate to identify a person to fill his shoe and put his name on the ballot, and that was Ken Sheppers, a dairy farmer and conservationist from the Area 3. He's a former ag teacher, and he's also been outstanding conservationist back in 2007. He's also a Zion Township board member. Looking at the SWCD staff, this is the team that gets the work done. And we recently added a part-time accounting specialist, Sharon Sejek, to the team. And she assists with payroll and other accounting details associated with grant management. We have been busy this past year. The pandemic hasn't slowed us down. We were able to get out in the field and do a lot of work with our farmers, our landowners, our shoreline residents. And we had conservation planning occurring here, more remote sensing work with Ben Ruley, chasm radio work with Jason Selvog and Ryan Rothstein, Brittany Lensmeyer taking DNR obwell measurements that determines how much groundwater quantity we have in the county. Tree planting assistance for a landowner with Kelly Molitor and Jason Selvog. And our most recent program is taking soil samples as part of our ESMC, Ecosystem Services Marketplace Consortium pilot project in the SOC, where we're hoping to provide additional value to farmers that are implementing conservation practices for storing carbon and water and improving water quality. Our West Central Technical Service team includes, from left to right here, Gary Borash, Luke Herkenoff, Ross Riefenberger, and Steve Lino, who's located out in Morris, and then also Tim Ebnett, a nutrient management specialist located in Long Prairie. They provide assistance across the 12 county area, and they're specialized in the areas that they're specialized in, including engineering and nutrient management assistance. And as you can see, Stearns County definitely takes advantage of these folks to make sure that our landowners are getting the technical assistance required in order to implement the conservation practices to address their resource concerns. We also are co-located with NRCS, and this is the NRCS staff team. Chris Hogue is a district conservationist, Nate Brandt, Lee Sabinsky, and Bonnie Havenchild. Joe Borgening was our outstanding conservationist in 2020. He's a certified organic dairy since 2004. He's also been certified in the Minnesota Ag Water Quality Certification Program. He's got about 400 acres that are protected by pasture forages, and he does cover crops, prescribed rotational grazing, pest management. He's also did some energy improvements on his farm with improved lighting throughout the farm. And there's a picture of Joe and his son and a 12-pack of beer, as you know, and as I've shared with you in the past. Any Minnesota Ag Water Quality Certified farmer receives a 12-pack of beer from the Third Street Brewery for their efforts in protecting the water that's used to make beer. As you all know, clean water makes great beer. Education and outreach, what slowed down a little bit last year, we did earlier in the year get out, and that's a photo of the Painesville FFA, 8th grade career day. Down here at the lower left, we were out at the Pantown Brewery doing pollinator pint night and talking about wildlife habitat. Tom Gregory and his family at the farm hosted Governor Walz to chat about the Minnesota Ag Water Quality Certification, along with other ag issues facing farmers. And then off to the right here are photos of our computerized 3D augmented sandbox, which you can play in the sand and it'll actually create pools of water and mountains, so you can see how watersheds react to rainfall. You can put your hand above the projector and it actually creates rain that actually forms pools. And it's a great way for kids to get involved with the hydrology of watersheds. Of course, we weren't able to use that much last year with the pandemic, but we're hoping that in the future we'll be able to use that. And that was actually paid for by a DNR Leave No Child Indoor grant that we received to help create and build that system. The SWCD mission is to enhance the soil, water, and natural resources necessary for productive and profitable agriculture, safe and affordable drinking water, and wildlife habitat for all Stearns County residents, businesses, and visitors. And we've done a variety of projects to make sure that we're delivering that mission. If you look across the county, we've done over 106 projects identified on this map. And these are often, it looks like it might be a shotgun pattern, but these are often in targeted areas to give us the biggest bang for our conservation dollar, resulting in our resource concerns being addressed in a cost-effective manner. Minnesota Ag Water Quality Certification Program continues to be a big program in Stearns County and across Minnesota. We have taken 165 applications. We have 38,000 plus acres certified, and there's been over 150 assessments completed. And Minnesota statewide, we're looking at almost 750,000 acres. The governor has a 1 million acre goal to achieve that by next year. And we're hoping that we can help here in Stearns County get additional acres certified. And there was a recent report showing that farmers that are Minnesota Ag Water Quality certified are more profitable than farmers that are not, due to the better management of their inputs and less problems with soil health that may impact crop yields. We did receive a cover crop demonstration from the Board of Water and Soil Resources, and that was for $195,000 to implement 1,000 acres of cover crops in the area identified on the map. And that includes Cold Spring, St. Joe, Richmond, and St. Martin, and their highly vulnerable wellhead protection areas. So we're hoping that the implementation of cover crops will reduce any potential nitrate movement into these drinking water supply management areas, and also result in additional resource benefits such as reduced wind erosion that we witnessed last week here in the county. Another project highlight is shoreline stabilization. There's a site that Greg Berg worked on with the before, during, and after. And these projects, even though they're small, they do prevent excess nutrients from entering the water into vegetation, keeps erosion at bay caused by weather events. Another project to highlight here is the manure stacking slab. These have been a lot of folks have been interested in doing a better job of storing their manure and using stacking slabs, especially in poultry production systems. And this provides the farmer a place to store it until they can apply it to the crop fields in an agronomic rate, at an agronomic rate at the right time.
If I could add to the stacking slab, the roof over the stacking slabs keeping the water out of the manure. I have a stacking slab without a roof, and I have to pump the liquid out into another pit. So when you have these 4-inch events, that keeps the water from entering and mixing with the manure and makes it easier to haul. So it's well worth it, the money that's used to cover the stacking slabs.
That was Supervisor Chair Tom Gregory sharing that comment in case you didn't see him. We also received the Cooperative Weed Management Grant, and we work with the County Highway Department on this project. The weeds treated included common tansy, the newly identified rough potato, and wild parsnip. And we've got 102 contracts as of today. And there was approximately 105 acres of rough potato acres treated in 2020. And that concludes our talk for today, and be willing to answer any questions that the commissioners may have.
Thank you. That was great. It'll be wonderful when we can be doing some of this in person, and particularly getting back out to in person to see the work that's being done. Members, comments, questions? I can see, oh, Steve, Commissioner Notch.
Yeah, see, this is, I appreciate you guys taking the time to give us the presentation. I just have a question relating to, if you can talk maybe about the legislative issue of wanting to put that $25 fee on recordings and deeds.
Yeah, that is something that I think it was Representative Rick Hansen that was pursuing that as a funding mechanism for soil water conservation districts. The Stearns County SWCD, and my board will correct me if I'm wrong, was not supportive of that language, and neither is the Minnesota Association of Soil and Water Conservation Districts.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's helpful. That's helpful information for us to know. Other questions or comments? Yes, Commissioner Persky.
Yeah, Dennis, say appreciate all the good work out there. Say you did not comment about buffers, and you know we've had a lot of positive response, and even before the buffer legislation came in, there was a lot of good practice there. We were doing quite well. There were a number of places though that we were still looking to pick up. Have those been remedied? Have those conditions been improved?
A majority of the buffers have been installed. There are several landowners that we are still working with. They have until this spring to get the buffer planted and installed. So those folks, if they do not comply, the Stearns County and the Stearns County Soil Water Conservation District are not the regulatory component. We work with the Board of Water and Soil Resources for any enforcement related with that. But 99.9% of the landowners that were impacted by the buffers have the buffer installed and have done a great job in maintaining and getting it. And we did get a little pushback at first from some farmers, but they're now using that as forages and in their livestock ration, and actually have learned to appreciate using that buffer for livestock feed. So it's actually been a very positive experience all in all for Stearns County.
Thank you. I was kind of wondering with the manure slabs and the coverings, are you seeing more requests for that? How's funding for that? It makes a lot of sense that those would be in demand.
That's a great question, Chair Clark. That the demand for those funds has increased dramatically. I think we have over 80 people signed up for the Environmental Quality Incentive Program, the federal funding. And the amount of funding to address those resource concerns is very limited. And we're working with our state association and the National Association of Conservation Districts to improve the amount of EQIP funding to address these resource concerns. We're asking our farmers to solve a lot of our problems, and to put these structures up is not cheap. It takes a lot of concrete, takes a lot of effort, and we're doing our darndest to help our farmers with their demands. But at the moment, we are limited with some of our funds.
That is helpful to know. I think it's safe to say that our voices would be raised with yours on that. That is a pretty pricey endeavor for the farmer itself, and being able to have those resources available makes a difference for everybody. So, Commissioner Mergen, your camera is off. I don't know if you have any questions or comments, but I wanted to make sure I asked you before we.
I'm fine. Thank you.
Great. Well, for me, the weather definitely made me want to be getting out on another tour. Just saying, it's always so good to see. And my husband Doug and I went for a walk by one of the couple dots in St. Cloud. I think, we live pretty close to where the work was done, just north of Whitney. So it's great to be able to showcase some of that work too, so people understand that you're making a difference throughout the county.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for making the time.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you very much.
Have a good day.
Yep, bye-bye.
All right, members, next we're on to environmental services. We obviously have been digging deep and broad over the last meetings. This is a pretty light agenda. It certainly does bear repeating that thanks to staff, the Planning Commission, the public that have been helping us as we've been working our way through the ordinance, our comprehensive plan implementation. But today we have just a couple of items here. So Ms. Benson.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Shelley Benson, Environmental Services Director. You're right, we do have a light agenda. Just want to say thank you to the SWCD for all their great work. I really appreciated watching their presentation, and we have an amazing cooperative relationship with them, and we would like to continue to do that. And we appreciate how the board supports SWCD and all the work that they do. So with that, I do have Mark Lateral, who is the Supervisor of Environmental Health, and he has a staff person, Jane Knott, with us for the first item on our agenda, which is not related to most of the things we've been doing, but is something that all of our commissioners are interested in, which is breakfast on the farm and how we will proceed this year with that during the pandemic. So Mark and Jane, on packet page 197, if anybody's looking for it, we'll start with that item.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Lateral and Ms. Knott. Go ahead.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. As Shelley pointed out, we're here this morning to present to the board an informational item on the 2021 Breakfast on the Farm event. Joining me is Jane Knott, one of the county's registered environmental health specialists. Jane has been working on this event and is here to share an update with the board. So if I may, Madam Chair, I'll turn it over to Jane.
Welcome.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioner. Again, Jane Knott with Environmental Health. The Breakfast on the Farm will be held on June 5th this year. That's a Saturday as usual. And we've got a large gathering review panel that meets every year to review the application and talk about how it's going to proceed, any comments or concerns that the panel has, and then typically it goes to the county board from there. The board met, or I should say our panel met on March 19th, and we had advised the applicant to apply in two different ways due to the pandemic. One way would have been in person as usual, some version of that. And secondly, we had them apply for a drive-through event, which some of the area festivals and things have looked at that and done that in the past year as well. And so we had a discussion, and there were quite a few concerns from the large gathering panel. Busing was one of the big ones. Typically, the people that go out to breakfast on the farm are brought out there on buses. There's usually tours and things going on in buildings out at the farm. And based on COVID and the ability to social distance, we still have variants out there that are highly infectious and transmissible. There were concerns with having people on a bus, in buildings, and with the guidance and outdoor venue guidance, there's calculators that have to be used to determine how many people could be out there. It would have been literally a moving target and really, really difficult for the applicants to try to meet all those requirements and do what they typically like to do on a typical year out on the farm. So the panel decided to recommend the drive-through model. We had the applicant, Tom Peterson, was in on our meeting, which was very helpful. And he was really just looking for input from us more than anything as well, because they want to do this event safely too. So that's the route we chose, or that they chose, I should say, was the drive-through event. So again, it's still going to be June 5th, but due to the drive-through model, it no longer meets the definition of a large gathering. So our large gathering ordinance says that it would be 1,000 people on the site at any given time. So of course, with the drive-through model, that's no longer the case. So instead of applying for the license, they no longer need that. So we just wanted to make the board aware of that today. They won't be coming to you for the public hearing as usual, but the event is still set to go on June 5th. It would be a drive-through model. I visited with Tom a little bit yesterday just to get a feel for what they're looking at doing. They don't have everything finalized, but right now they're considering still meeting out at the Melrose High School parking lot and maybe having a pilot car that would bring like 25 cars at a time out to the farm. That will manage traffic a little better. One of the concerns that did come up from Jody Tyke was the traffic concerns on County Road 17 and the visibility where this is going to be held this year, which is going to be out at the Hillview Kerfeld Dairy Farm out on 17, northwest of St. Rosa. So that's one way they can address the traffic. They plan on having volunteers out on the road with safety vests and signage and still doing everything that our committee was concerned with. So probably a pilot car bringing people through, probably driving through the barns, and then they're looking at some really neat concepts, getting a grant through Midwest Dairy and maybe adding some other stops, because of course this would be a pretty brief time on the farm driving through. They're looking at a reduced menu, maybe something as simple as donuts and a carton of milk that they'd potentially give out at the parking lot where they start out, so it wouldn't even be on the farm. Then driving through the farm, potentially proceeding to Melrose Dairy Proteins in Melrose. They're looking at some cool things with technology, getting a grant where the people in the car could pull up to Melrose Dairy Proteins and they get a link where they can watch a video, of what goes on in the milk plant. So kind of like you start out at the farm and this is where the milk's produced, and then maybe a video on how it's hauled in a truck, and then going to Melrose Dairy Proteins, and then potentially a stop at Coburn. So those are all things in the works. Nothing's concrete yet, but just rest assured that they're still working with us and want to do it safely. And I'll probably be going out there for a meeting with them to discuss whatever guidance is in place at that time regarding drive-throughs, staff, illness screening. They do have a COVID-19 preparedness plan. So they'll still be working with us to do it as a safe event, but still allow them to do something for, residents of the county that are interested in what goes on a farm. So I'd be available for any questions or concerns if you have any.
Members, any questions, comments, concerns?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Persky.
Jane, thank you for taking this on. This is obviously an unexplored travel for us to do it, this drive-through. Have you had information from anybody that's done something similar? Instead of, building a new mousetrap, can we steal ideas from somebody else? Have you had any other plans that you've seen?
Ms. Knott.
Commissioner Persky, I have not looked at any other plans. I just know like one example I can think of is the state fair did like a drive-through event where people could get state fair food this last, I think it was fall, if I remember right. We haven't looked at kind of how they did that. If you look at the drive-through guidance, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, if cars have windows open, they should be socially distanced, the cars themselves. And again, if they have windows open and they can't socially distance, the people in the vehicles should be wearing masks. So there's basically the same type of guidance that we'd be working with. Volunteers and staff out at the farm or at the parking lot, wherever they're going to be. The COVID-19 preparedness plan addresses how they're going to screen employees and volunteers as they show up that day to ensure that they're not exhibiting any symptoms of COVID-19. So as far as the food, they'd be following restaurant guidance, but in a drive-through model. It's basically going to be all prepackaged and probably in bags or boxes where they'd just hand off that to the person in the car, a brief interaction, and they'd be on their way. So pretty simple as far as that goes.
Oh, okay, sounds
Ray,
good.
it kind of
And I'll
reminds
just say,
me of- Go ahead, Joe.
with one other item, maybe with the number of eggs we've got out here in the county, you can give them a hard-boiled egg as well. So just an idea.
That might raise other questions, though, but maybe. So actually what it was reminding me a little bit of is the way the Tour of Saints is set up. You start in one place, there's a fair amount of people are going off, they go to the next stop. I mean, and so in some ways between that or even our rides on the Wobegon Trail, there's some experience locally on how to safely handle people in between. And I was actually wondering, since they're talking about the pilot car, are they also considering having people kind of stay when they're coming through? I don't want to call it reservations because part of the beauty is being able to come. And then because I was thinking about the Tour of Saints, except for not exhaustion on those hills for those of us who are not in great shape, is perhaps in addition to cars, would it be possible if somebody wanted to ride I don't want to call it a circuit, that might add too much in.
Well, one of the reasons that they did consider looking at the pilot cars is for the exact reason you just said, so that they can stagger traffic. So they would be able to, I'm sure they're going to be in communication with each other. So the first pilot car brings 25 cars through. If the weather permits, there is a south exit out of that farm, but if it's too wet, that's not going to be an option. So in that case, they would be coming back out the same driveway they're going in. But this allows them the ability to stagger those groups of 25. So the first group could actually then exit the farm before the second group actually comes on. So that helps from a traffic safety standpoint, as well as, if for some reason something would happen, you need an emergency vehicle that needs to get out to the farm. It just keeps it less congested on the farm site as well. So
yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Well, and I know that all of us at least try to go out, so we'll be most likely each of us trying to drive through. And if they need an extra volunteers, they should let us know, because I'm sure they'll handle volunteers in a very safe way. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Otherwise, thank you. Thank you for thinking this through, and for the Committee on Large Events to be working with Breakfast on the Farm. It's an important part of who we are.
Yeah. Madam Chair, if I may, I just wanted to reiterate,
Yes.
The 2021 Breakfast on the Farm event will be held at the Kerrfield Hill View Farm at 30257 County Road 17 in Melrose on June 5th, 2021 in Millwood Township, drive-through event. So.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Lateral. And recognize Janet Midas's list. There'll be some social media we'll be able to even help with before the event. Right. Thank you. Thank you for making the time today. So we have one more agenda item which is approving the 2021 Select Committee on Recycling and Environment, the SCORE final budget. And Mr. Lateral, I believe that you're going to be doing this presentation as well.
Correct, Madam Chair. The next item, item F2 on packet page 198, is a request of the board to approve the Select Committee on Recycling and Environment, or the SCORE final budget. As part of the typical budget process in 2020, the board approved a preliminary budget. And once the carryover numbers are calculated, a final budget is typically prepared and provided to the board for consideration and approval. Attached in the packet was a detailed outline showing line by line how the funds for the 2021 SCORE budget would be handled. Some of the carryover dollars are intended to be used to expand hazardous waste disposal cost. We realized a larger cost last year than typical, and we kind of anticipate the same this year. And then additionally, a small staffing overtime cost allowance. So with that, Madam Chair, I would turn it to you for discussion, but I would ask the board to consider approving the amended 2021 SCORE budget as proposed.
Thank you. Members, any questions? And if not, we would entertain a motion to be approving this amended budget, sorry.
So moved, Commissioner Notch.
Thank you, Commissioner Notch. We're a little in delay motion. I'll go ahead and second it because I can't quite see everybody. Seeing no other questions or comments, I think we're ready for the roll call.
District 4.
Aye.
District 5.
Aye.
District 6, or District 1, excuse me.
Aye.
District 2
Aye.
and District 3.
Aye.
It passes unanimously.
Okay, great. Thank you, members. We're scheduled to take a break. Are you ready to take a 5-minute break, or would you like to continue?
Jeff usually takes a while. Maybe we should take a break.
Let's go ahead and yes, that's true. Let's go ahead and take a 5-minute break. See you all back in a few minutes. We are in recess. Still see the, there we go. All right. The next item on our agenda is a presentation and accepting the Recording Services 2020 Annual Report. Mr. Johnson, I'm turning it over to you.
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair and members of the County Board, Dr. Williams and Mr. Schreifels. I'm going to begin to share my screen here in just a moment, okay?
Sounds good.
Okay, can everyone see this now?
It is not up yet. It looks like it might be coming. No.
No?
Room, does Randy or does Jeff have the ability to share his screen?
Okay, it should be coming right about
You told
now.
said something funny, Lee, but we couldn't hear you. Okay, here we go. You said work. All right.
Great. Well, thank you. This is Jeff Johnson, Property Services Director. And with me this morning is Rita Lodemeyer, the Recording Services Manager. She will also participate in this presentation. It's our pleasure to present to you item G1A, the Recording Services 2020 Annual Report. The full report is found on packet pages 203 through page 218. We're offering this report for informational purposes only. Several points that are found in this summary are shared in the brief PowerPoint presentation that we're offering here. No action will be required on your part other than to accept it as part of your record. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them during this presentation or at the end. And let's see here. We should get you see the next screen. Of course, we always have these difficulties, don't we? All right. Can everyone see our mission for recording services now?
Yes, we can.
Great. Well, I think it's fitting to begin our presentation by sharing with you our mission, and it is to process documents in compliance with laws and create archival records with the highest degree of accuracy and quality for current and future property owners, military service veterans, and others who depend on recording services as a reliable resource of historical records. In order to carry out our mission, there is a specific commitment to service that we subscribe to. We are committed to serving the people we work with and through by offering prompt and courteous attention whenever they have a question about recording, promoting education, training, and professional development of our staff, along with maximizing the use of technology and executing efficient business practices. We're also committed to protecting and preserving the integrity of the county's real estate documents and records while providing access to them, and staying viable by being approachable, responsive, professional, collaborative, and fair and equitable, which are the values that tie in with our overall county mission statement. This next part, Rita will be taking it from here.
Go ahead, Ms. Lodemeyer. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair and the board members and Dr. Williams. I'm just going to give you a department overview. Recording Services is responsible for the review, recordation, and preservation of over 400 different types of legal documents. About 25,000 of them are real estate documents, 100 are military discharge records, and 300 are tax liens to protect the rights and interests of individuals and institutions. The processes used to record and maintain documents are based on compliance with state recording standards to ensure accuracy and reliability. Documents are accepted for recording through e-recording services, postal mail, in person, or the Dropbox, which is located at the Admin Center and here at the Service Center. Documents are indexed and stored in electronic files and are accessible through ArchiSearch, Landshark, and Beacon, either by computer offsite or in person, hopefully eventually with COVID. Business partners, customers regularly use our library system and services to complete their work. Governmental agencies and departments also rely on recording services to complete their work assignments. This past year has been filled with many changes, particularly in the growth of digital services and resources. Many of these changes saved everyone time and improved the user experience. The following are services we added or improved on during 2020. All real estate documents except torrents can be recorded online using 4 trusted submitters. There was a new statute called RON. It's a Remote Online Notarial Act, and documents are now accepted when electronic notarial acts have performed by notaries who are authorized by the Secretary of State. We created guidelines and posted them on the website. Occasional remote access users can view and download documents from Landshark, and they can pay that with their credit or debit cards. Landshark was also integrated with our web-based GIS and tax system. It provides users access to search PID numbers, maps, and tax information. Historical indexes, deeds, and miscellaneous records are also available through ArcaSearch, and various subscription services are available by credit and debit card. With COVID, we had to come up with a solution to get our torrent certificates of title available to the public. So we used the resource of Beacon, the land management portal. We created instructions and posted them out on the website. Genealogy and property research options are also posted on the Recording Services website to give people direction, and it reduces the number of inquiries. Deed solicitation information about deceptive mailing practices is also posted on the website to provide the public assistance and give direction. Land notification was tested in December of last year, and we launched it here in February. This is to help property owners monitor their property and prevent fraud by providing alerts when documents recorded against their name, business name, or property. This is a free service, and we currently have 119 subscribers. We also devised a plan, and we utilize CRM to support document tracking processes back in December of 2020, and we implemented that in February. It replaces our paper tracking form that accompanied documents in the recording process. It supports e-recording. It removed the need to scan all our documentation, and everything is accessible by computer. And the next couple of charts start at packet page 211. And this chart illustrates the volume of all documents processed during the past 11 years. As noted down below, in 2020, we recorded 31,898 documents, and that averaged to about 2,600 a month. Compared to the previous years, we were at about 2,100 a month. I did run a report yesterday from January through March, and we recorded 9,096 documents, and we are averaging 3,032 documents a month. So that is a substantial increase. The next bar graph shows the increase in the volume of e-recordings during the past years. 2011 through 2018, it was a slow, steady increase as people were getting used to e-recording. We only had satisfaction of mortgages, assignment of mortgages, and non-transfer type documents. In 2019, you'll see an increase. We added all document types in July, and we added 3 additional trusted submitters. And then in 2020, due to COVID, it has increased substantially. And it is noted that all recorders have seen an increase in e-recording. And I'd like to see that increase higher. The next slide shows our county and state revenues, and they are based on the number of documents recorded in our department service fees. Last year we had 1,656,000 in revenue, and the previous year was about 1,320,000. Our department service fees right now from January through March is at 56,635, and that is an increase due to our online services and that they're able to pay by credit and debit card. So far this year from January through March, we're at 362,000. So it's been an increase, and I'm really liking this revenue for the county. And then the next few slides, Jeff will be taking over.
Thank you, Rita. The next slide is in regards to 2 funds that we manage out of this department. The first is what's referred to as the Technology Reserve. It was once called the Equipment Fund. This money is used to obtain, maintain, update current technology and equipment, and to provide services from the land record system. There's a technology fee that's mandated by the state that we collect every time a document's recorded, and it's $10 per document. In 2020, the revenue was approximately $307,000, and that was an increase of about 25%. And this is a direct reflection on the increase in recording activity that was experienced in 2020. Along with that, we also had expenses that we incurred, and that was about $41,400. And for the year 2020, we netted out $266,370. Adding the 2019 fund balance of $103,900, which was carried over from the previous year, we now have a 2020 fund balance of $370,270. This money is allocated to budgeted items we plan to purchase this year and beyond. It includes such things as the historical record imaging and e-commerce system that's sponsored and provided by ArcaSearch. It also includes our full suite of services that are offered through TriMen, aerial flights that we're budgeting for, not this year, but actually down the road in the next 2 or 3 years, along with some of the technology that accompanies the use of aerial photography here at Stearns County. And then we're also budgeting for such things as GPS equipment, durable supplies, and other computer equipment. This particular reserve account is used to address really equipment needs. It's not something that we could use for expenses or personal costs to run recording services because the law prohibits that use. The next fund that I like to refer to is the Compliance Reserve Account. Sometimes it's referred to as the Unallocated Fund Account. Again, all documents presented for recording must pay a compliance fee, and that fee is approximately $11 per document, and this money is deposited into this reserve account. It's available for supporting enhancements to the recording process, such as e-recording. As you can see, we've seen large growth in this particular area of our business. It also goes towards funding compliance efforts and for undertaking data integration and aggregation projects. I'll talk about the compliance certification in just a moment, but when we talk about the statutory compliance timeframe requirements, these have to be met in order to use these funds for compliance reasons. And then if that is met, then these funds can also be used in other land use areas. In 2020, the revenue that was taken in was $338,558, again, an increase of about 25%. The expenses that we incurred were $294,253. And so for the year 2020, The net balance after expenses was $44,305. Adding the carryover from 2019 from that fund balance of $27,572, we arrive at a fund balance beginning in the year 2021 of $71,877. Again, these dollars will be allocated to budgeted items we pay for annually, such as the ArcaSearch research system support that we receive, the TriMen recording system support, as well as IS department charges, insurance, durable supplies, technology equipment maintenance, and software upgrades. Now I'd like to speak about compliance certification because this is really important. Minnesota does impose a standard on all recording offices in the state that there's a certain number of days in which a county recorder, register of titles must or should record real estate documents for the safety and benefit of property owners that are transferring property or filing mortgages and things of this kind. And this is described in Minnesota Statute 357.182 subdivision 3. It states that the reporting process should be completed within 5 business days if we're dealing with electronic submissions referred to as e-recordings, or 10 business days for paper recordings. And what do we mean by recording? It's to record a document, digitize the document, index the grantor grantee as well as the legal description, and return the document to the submitter within that 5 or 10 day period. The annual compliance standard is 90%. So all recordable instruments are recorded and returned within that allotted time of 5 to 10 days. Last year, unfortunately, because of several reasons, we were only able to achieve a compliance rating of 79.97%. This compliance was not achieved because of about a 23% increase in recording activity and some staffing changes that we encountered. As Rita pointed out earlier in the presentation, we did almost 32,000 documents this past year compared to 26,000 documents in 2019. We were also down as many as 2 full-time employees between the months of June through December of 2020. The last time this department failed to meet this requirement was also a year where we experienced a large volume of recording activity, and that was in 2012. So if you were to take the time and refer back to the previous charts, you'll see in 2012 we had a large uptick in recording activity. We also had some staffing changes at that time due to retirements as well. So, this shortcoming seems to mirror what's happened in prior periods where we've had a large increase in recording activity and staff changes. The next slide is actually found on packet page 216 and 217. And this chart provides a summary of the compliance status per month for the year 2020. And it also provides a glimpse of the compliance status for the first 3 months of 2021. What I'd like to point out is that in 2020, the first 5 months we were compliant. The last 7 months, because of the large increase in recording activity and having some staff shortages, we were non-compliant. And for the year's end, we arrived at the 79.97% annual compliance rate. We think better days are ahead. We've made some steady progress over the first 3 months of 2021. As you can see, our percentage of compliance has increased from 75.64% to 98.13% as of March 1st through the 24th. This is good to know. If we continue to hold this pattern, we should be compliant for the year 2021 on an annual basis. A couple points I'd like to make in regards to this development is that since the beginning of this year, real estate activity has remained about the same as it was last year. In fact, in the first 3 months of this year, it seems to outpace what we saw a year ago prior to COVID events. As Rita mentioned earlier, we're averaging about 3,000 documents a month. Last month alone, we increased to 34 documents. And these are usually periods of time where we do somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,500 to 1,700 documents a month. So you can see that we're still producing almost twice as much as we have typically produced during a normal year. Another reason why we are able to turn the corner is that we are now fully staffed. The 2 vacant positions that we have were filled in January of 2021. Team members have worked overtime, and we have made procedural changes to save time and to promote some efficiencies. As a result, the average number of days to complete the recording process has decreased from about 25 days to 8 days. And as I mentioned earlier, we have achieved compliance during the month of March, achieving a compliance rate of 98.31%. We hope to continue to update the Stearns County Budget Committee as we begin preparations for the 2022 budget process by sharing additional information regarding our compliance. We think that we'll be able to continue to sustain that level as we move throughout the calendar year based on, as we mentioned before, some changes that we've done in work processes, electrifying some of the recording processes that we have in place, which is incidentally supporting telecommuting, which is beginning in earnest as of today. We have a person or two that's beginning to telecommute. And this will be something that will continue to have a footing in place in our recording process from here into perpetuity. Our last slide, I'll turn it over to Rita, is this is something that she's coined a long time ago when I first started in this department back in August of 2019, is that recorders do good deeds. And I'll turn it over to her because she deserves a lot of the credit for the progress that we've made over the last several months and the new innovations that have taken hold here within this department. So Rita, you can close by sharing your closing comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Recording services is important to the home buying process and the real estate industry. Every home owner is affected by recording services one way or another. We also instill confidence in the public as a single hosting place of real estate documents. Online services also provide easy access and quicker searching in Landshark, the GIS and tax system, and ArcaSearch. Also wanted to point out that I've been nominated to be on the MACO board as the MACRA representative, and I also got nominated for the MACRA board, and I am the third vice chair. I'm also a member of the legislative committee to stay on top of all the statute changes that affect recording offices. I'm also proud of what Recording Services has accomplished over the past year. And I'd like to thank the County Board and Administration for your guidance and support. Also, I'd like to thank my staff for their dedication, teamwork, and patience as we work through many changes. And I also cannot forget our vendors' involvement, the IS department, and land management, and especially Jeff for seeing my vision and helping to achieve it. And at this time, does the board have any questions for Jeff and I?
Thank you so much for the incredible and relatively, if you think about it, swift work and all these changes. It's very impressive. Members, comments, questions? Commissioner Nutch.
Yeah, I guess I would like to say thank you as well. Just maybe one quick question or maybe a comment. Could you run through briefly maybe what it takes to record, what start to finish the process? And do you have an idea or can you state like how many each employee maybe records in a day?
Ms. Lodemeyer.
Yes. The document involves whether it is e-recording or paper. So we're about 50-50. We review the documents for statutory requirements. And after review, if there are issues, we contact the submitter and ask them if they would like the document rejected, if they would like to come and fix the document, or if they will allow us to actually fix the document. And some of them are like minor changes, and some of them are changes that as recorders we cannot change the document. We have to send it back. But if it is recordable, we do review it and determine if the document needs to go through the auditor's office for a transfer. And those are like deeds and mortgages, and between the auditor and treasurer, they will transfer the interest, and then they will collect the MRT and D tax. And once they complete that process, it comes back to our office, and then we combine the packet together and then record it. And so it is a very fast-paced, timely system because the raise the notice law, it's all based on date and time of the recording. So like mortgages, they really want these mortgages recorded for that date and time that's on the recording label. As far as the number of documents, it can range from 20 to 50 documents a staff person will review on a given day. And we have about 4 or 5 people processing the real estate documents. Did you have any additional questions?
Commissioner Dodge?
No, just thanks for explaining that. And, in all my years of banking, I must say, the Stearns County staff and these departments has always been very timely. If there is an issue with a document, they reach out to you really quickly and help get it resolved. So, I'd say kudos to the department for, providing such a good service.
Thank you, Commissioner Notch.
Thank you.
Commissioner Mergen?
Yes, this is probably for Jeff. I was wondering if you had any information on properties that are currently available for sale. I know of, especially at lake properties, I know of a couple people that are telling me they're looking for something and there's nothing out there. If they see something, it's pretty much sold the same day it's listed. I was just wanted to have Jeff comment on that. Somebody.
Yes,
Mr. Johnson?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Mergen, to your point about housing stock and the availability of homes, lake homes in particular, available for sale. The market is extremely hot right now. I know in one of the prior board meetings, our county assessor reported that the housing stock and supply is relatively low, which is driving prices up. Interest rates have been relatively low as of lately. That's also fueling interest in purchasing property now. And the fact that COVID is probably changing the way many people are working, mostly those people who can work remotely from home are looking at perhaps leaving the Twin Cities and moving to suburban and rural areas of the state, and lakeshore properties seem to be rather attractive. And so you're absolutely right. This is what's happening. Some of these homes are selling before they even are listed or advertised through MLS services or other services in marketing these types of homes. Will this continue? I read a recent publication that there's some thought that the interest rates will continue to rise throughout the remainder of 2021, and this is going to force people out of the market because payments will obviously increase as interest rates increase. We're also moving into a popular time of the year where more properties may be listed, but there is some demand for them, and if they're in relatively good condition, they're going to move rather quickly. And I've heard of cases, and in the neighborhood I live in, I've seen 6 houses sell within the last few weeks, and I've heard many cases, multiple offers, and some exceeding the asking prices. So this is not uncommon, and we went through this before in other areas of the real estate cycle, and I think we're experiencing one of them. But is a bubble on the horizon? Possibly. I think things will slow. That's what some of the prognosticators are saying, is that the market will slow, and this activity will likely fall back to what we consider to be normal once interest rates rise to a certain level and supply, is equal or is able to support the demand that's out there.
Commissioner Mergen, anything else?
Oh, that was it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm glad you asked that question, an important one. Commissioner Lensmeyer or Commissioner Persky, any comments or questions?
I'm still laughing to myself about the pun of, recorders do good deeds. That's pretty clever. Good job, Rita.
Yeah, I
You're
like that
welcome.
too. I think we may have to use that one. Certainly appreciate, given how competitive we all are, that it was, I'm sure it was being below the compliance 90% had to be a little bit hard, but also kind of amazing thinking you were down to staff and everything else. And the efficiencies that people have made, and want to thank people for putting in that extra time. It's all hard. So hopefully, we really appreciate and respect what you're doing. And we recently, I don't know the rest of it, Doug and I recently refinanced, and just thinking about how many of the same documents you just have to keep doing no matter what it is. And you all have to deal with all of those pieces of paper all the time. It's just crazy. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Please thank the rest of the staff.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Persky.
Yeah, I just want to echo some of those comments of thanks. You know, this is the dotting and the I's and the crossing of the T's, and it's not always that glamorous, but it is ever so important, because when it comes to your document, you sure want to make sure that it's done correctly, and there's people behind us that are actually doing that work to make sure those things are done correctly. So those are the behind the scenes people that, you know, make the whole system work, and that's greatly appreciated. Although they're not ever the high profile, it seems, but obviously very necessary, and very grateful to have those.
All right, anything else? Well, thank you again, and hope you have a great rest of the day, and we'll look forward to an update as we go through the year.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and board members.
Dr. Williams, we're ready for our COVID-19 update.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Madam Chair. Some of the people that normally report to us are not available today, but so Mr. Pooler's he's been working in the Emergency Operations Center 4 months now, and so he's gonna give us an update. But just quickly before that, I want to reiterate to the board that we are having pretty extensive conversations about how we move forward here and how we might start to reopen. If you remember, we surveyed our employees last fall to see how they were doing, and what needs there were for those employees, as most of them were working remote. We also did our own, I liken it to what AMC did statewide. We did our own sort of blue ribbon committee here to take a look at the changes that we made and what of those we can continue into the future or modify and continue into the future. That document and those discussions are continuing. Most recently, we've held listening sessions with all of our, well, not all of our employees, but employees, a number of employees, to get a feel for where they are with coming back into the building and interacting with the public again. And we also recently did a survey of the leadership team to see what their thoughts are, and we're going to have a conversation with the leadership team tomorrow about how we move ahead, since, as you all know, we're getting a significant amount of the population vaccinated, and we really need to think about getting back to some semblance of norm. And so tomorrow we'll hash over some of that. I don't see us making a lot of changes in the next month, probably not until June 1st. We've eased up a few things right now, such as allowing some in-person meetings, small in-person meetings, and some things like that. But I do see us beginning to implement some changes after school is let out, as sort of being our target for beginning to make some of those changes. So hopefully you'll see a report that'll kind of bring that all together for you at your next meeting. And if there's any questions or comments about that, I'm certainly happy to listen or answer questions. And if not, we'll turn it over to Mr. Pooler, Madam Chair.
Okay, and we'll give members a little bit of time to be thinking about questions too. It's a lot to be processing as well. But certainly appreciate the human and data-driven approach to all of this. Mr. Pooler, welcome.
Morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I do have a brief PowerPoint, so and my share button is not lit up. So if I ask, could maybe let me have that. Perfect. Thank you.
Right, there we go.
All right. Well, we continue to do a lot of education and outreach and the stuff that we've been doing all the way through this, but obviously a lot of our efforts recently since the beginning of the new year have been vaccine related. So most of this presentation is based on that, I guess. So I'll start with just some brief information statewide data, and then we'll get to just some general county information. So as you can see here, sorry, I'm moving my screen around. Some good numbers statewide. The governor's goal of having 90% of our 72 hours and our 90%, 100% within our 7-day goal, sitting in the 90s percent statewide, which is great. The number of the age 16 plus statewide that have had at least one dose of vaccine is at 41%, which I think is also good. And as you can see here, obviously in the month of March, things really have ramped up. Obviously April will continue that in line with the president's wishes.
Excuse me for a second. Mr. Puller, do you mind just getting a little closer to your mic?
Sure.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yes.
Sorry about that. So anyway, March has really ramped up. April will get there, obviously in line with the president's wishes of getting, by the end of, well, May 1st, June 1st. This slide shows basically the number of doses that have come into the state currently, which, if you can see my cursor or not, I'm not sure, but basically 3.2 million, a little over 3.2 million doses have come into the state so far. The last I heard from MDH, we're looking at about 300 doses a week, 300,000 doses a week coming into the state currently. Total number of providers in the state that are currently offering vaccines is 845. And then you can just kind of see the breakdown based on what type they are. Stearns County specific information. We are at over 47,000 of our people that are eligible for vaccine have had their first dose, and 33,000 have completed their series. And kind of mirroring everything else you can kind of see from February to March at the bottom of the slide, how things have really ramped up there also. And again, I would suspect April will be the same. This kind of breaks it down by percentage. You can see age groups. So of our 47,000, a good chunk of our, well, 88% of our 65 plus people in the county have been vaccinated. And then the other breakdown is here is for 42.8% of the 50 to 64 year olds. And again, this is just a general breakdown. But I think obviously doing very well. We hit that 80% of the 65 plus population quite a while ago and have done really well with it. Current vaccinations for our local public health and EOC staff. To date, as you can see, we've administered 78,660 as of last Friday. Of those, 4,985 are first doses. People that have completed their series, 2,875. This particular week, we'll be working on 300 first doses, 500 second doses, still mostly priority groups 1A, B, and C, with some caveats to that, but in general, that's where we're still working. And I think
Mr. Fuller, for the public, could you just remind us who's in 1A, 1B, and 1C?
Sure. Yep. That 1A would be your hospital and healthcare workers, public safety, working your way down through food processing, manufacturing is in the last groups we've kind of been working on. Trying to think. The groups have expanded and moved a little bit on me too, but probably just the last group short of general public. Childcare and educators. Trying to think of the people we've mostly focused on. That'd be most of those groups.
And I know that you've been working directly with some of our communities that could be a little harder to reach, and working with different community leadership to be helping make that happen and helping with overcoming some of the vaccine hesitancy.
Correct. Yeah, we definitely we're seeing a transition now that the general public is being focused on. We're definitely having that transition to try to fill the gaps, get people to the healthcare system. So focusing on people, technology issues, transportation issues, the under or uninsured, the homebound, that type of thing. And I guess I'd like to add, for one thing, the MDH vaccine connector is people's probably best way to get connected. It's a number of questions on the website. It's also on our COVID website the county's COVID website that we post. So basically people go there and enter their information. MDH has done a very good job of actually shifting the input to that system out to the appropriate facilities, from your pharmacies to your healthcare system to us. I mean, we get weekly updates and lists of people that have not been vaccinated in those priority groups.
So community members should know that we've had really great partnership with CentraCare and lots of people receiving vaccines through their health provider, as you just said. Starting to see more with our pharmacies. The VA not only got through all of their inpatient folks, but they've been vaccinating veterans. And can you do a quick update on, since we have a state vaccination site here? They're what, Wednesdays? Is that correct still?
Correct. Yes, correct. They'll be here. I have not heard any, we have a meeting later in the week to get an update from them, but they plan on being here for another, I would say, at least 6 more weeks. And currently their goal is to do 1,000 doses every Wednesday. And again, the way to get into that waiting list is through the MDH vaccine connector. And so we also have really great staff here at the county with our COVID hotline. If we have people that have issues with technology and aren't able to do some of that, they'll walk through it with you on the phone. So it's like, so we've been pretty successful with that.
Right. Right. Members, questions, comments?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Persky.
Yeah, you mentioned about those hard to reach folks, and that I think that's a concern for all of us. Mike, yeah, and you just alluded to it at the end there, mentioning those people that struggle with being online. Do you have that number? Because if you could just give us that number right now, if that's possible. Also, again, do they just call into the county? How do they actually make that connection if they're not connected online?
If they're not connected on, no, I apologize. Commissioner Persky, we do have our COVID-19 website, which has our hotline number. It does have links to the MDH and CentraCare numbers. Obviously, if you can't get online to be able to get those numbers, that's a good question. Our Stearns County COVID hotline number is 320-656-6625. And that is open from 8 to 4:30. If I can get there fast enough, I will get the MDH hotline also. MDH hotline runs for longer hours outside of 8 to 4:30.
Well, hopefully some of our radio
people could then make
just a second, Joe. Hopefully some of our radio stations continue to publicize that number too. So we've got ways if somebody isn't online. And obviously with our 65 plus, we've seen such significant vaccination rates too, that you could see the payoff happening there. Commissioner Persky.
Yeah, and so those folks that can't get online, will they be able to call these numbers and get an appointment without having to use the computer?
Correct. Yes, they will. Generally speaking, I believe, so for CentraCare, for instance, or for us at the county, when we've been having people come through clinics, if it's phone only, even if you have a landline and no computer, if you're able to get to us, we will basically confirm your appointment and do it that way. And same with CentraCare. CentraCare patients are used to using the facilities that they use. So if it's only by phone, that's available for sure. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Persky, anything else? You good? I guess one other one just to be getting a quick update. The packing plants, small and large, are part of what has recently been a big focus. And you all, I mean, public health, EOC have been really great working with Centricare, et cetera. And it sounds like we now have seen a significant number of employees at the big as well as the small places vaccinated. Is there anything else to add to that?
Correct. I think that's a good general statement. We did work with Centricare to get out to Pilgrim's Pride. They did an on-site vaccination, and it actually had a much larger uptake of people wanting the vaccine. They had planned for, I would say they added probably 25 to 30% more than what they had planned for after a week of education. Genio and Melrose also got vaccinated by, they're under Hormel contract, so they had Hy-Vee actually out on site. So lots and lots of partners. And yeah, we meet weekly with Centricare. We've had a lot of good conversation and try to continue to not duplicate, but make sure we don't lose anybody either.
Right. Anything else, anybody? I don't think it's possible to actually express appreciation enough. This has been, and will continue to be till we're done with this, just an immense undertaking. And the lessons learned have been valuable, but just the difference in people's lives. And I know we haven't really talked about our own vaccinations here, but I'm getting my second one this afternoon, so I can't tell you how excited I am. I was actually incredibly relieved when my husband got his. I mean, I would think I was more relieved about him getting it even than me, but it's exciting starting to see those changes. Okay, if nothing else, thank you for coming. And Dr. Williams, was there anything else you want to make sure?
No, Madam Chair, I don't think so. As Mike said, I think you're going to see our public health transition to filling those gaps. It's since the healthcare system is now doing a good job of getting people vaccinated, and you know, and you're seeing it with the large amount of people being vaccinated. Even though our cases have gone up, I think if you looked at the data, you would see that it's not our people are not our elders. Because most of them have all been vaccinated. It's a younger population now that is getting it, and we think probably that's spreading it as well in this little spike we have right now. But at any rate, we've been talking about this shift to try to hit those the gaps or the populations that are hard to reach, and you'll see us doing that more and more rather than the broad general clinics. We still need to get to the second vaccinations of all of those, of course. So we will continue with those regular clinics for a while.
Thank you. I think we're ready for our last agenda item, which is issues by commissioners. District 3, Jeff, you have anything today? We're going to get to have baseball in some way?
Working on baseball. I have nothing else.
Okay, great. District 4, Lee.
The question I've got is we've got an extensive report, an update on the jail. One expensive, well, historically expensive item is how we handle juveniles. I haven't heard about that for a while. So maybe at some point in the future, before it would reach a crisis situation, maybe we should learn a little about that.
Absolutely, a great idea. Population. Okay, great. District 5, Steve?
Nope, I don't have anything today. Thanks.
Okay, District 2, Joe?
Yeah, I want to thank staff for coming back with the improvements on the mental health facility, the security there. And kudos to Lee, just for pointing that out, because, it's nice that we've got some critical minds and all of us think a little bit different, that, we can tweak things when we need to tweak things. So thank everybody for that. And then also with those $4 that we've got coming in and that budget we approved there, I know we reach out to some further areas into Mille Lacs County, Benton County, Sherburne County as well for disposal of that household waste. So thinking of making that a little bit more convenient to make sure those people can bring that in. So instead of throwing it in the trash, it gets in the right spot. So other than that, enjoy the good weather we got.
Great. Well, thank you. I think the only other thing that's out there is, at least at this point, I believe Senator Klobuchar is going to be in town in St. Cloud, actually, tomorrow to be doing a press-related and information sharing on the rescue plan. And I'm going to get a chance to say a few words there, mostly hopefully boasting on the incredible things our staff have been doing. But it's good to see our senator carrying off about what's happening in central Minnesota to be coming here. And I think that is it. Seeing nothing else, our meeting is adjourned.